Today, we live in a time that offers quite the array of Karens. We have entitled Karens, psycho Karens, speak to the manager Karens, get arrested Karens, and the list just goes on. Now, everyone loves justice, so in this video, we have quite the assortment of Karens who got arrested and charged for their wrongdoing. From bad to even worse, get ready for Karens before and after the fame. Cara Bell, a Texas school board candidate, was kicked out of a store for not wearing a mask on April 7th, 2021. Everything went as expected for someone not wearing a mask until police showed up and her stupidity grew even further.
You did say I had to have an ID to be here.
No, we need that. You need to give
Didn't
us
you say?
identification.
Okay.
Was the call taker able to get a last name? She's refusing to identify herself.
It's my God-given right to be here on this planet, and you cannot tell me otherwise. Correct? You just lied to me.
I lied to you about what?
You said I had to have an ID to be here.
No, you
That's
gotta
not what I
identify
said.
yourself.
When you're legally detained, you can play back on your video. When you're legally detained, you have a duty to identify yourself to a police officer.
Okay, so they're saying when I'm legally detained, which I was not. Then how am I legally detained? Can you?
We were called here to investigate
After I was judged.
Okay, so they're saying
And I called
that.
you too.
Okay, so let me.
I called the police too.
Are
but
you
they're
going to let
only
me talk, or are you going to be the only one talking? Because right now, as a call taker, I know you want to have them on there for your safety purposes.
Yes.
But right now, you and I need to be talking, not them.
Says who?
You need to continue having a conversation with me. So you said that she shoved you. You want to file assault charges. She's saying you shoved her, and she has witnesses. You have witnesses to say that she shoved you.
She has the manager?
No.
No. Okay.
There are other employees that were in the fitting room.
I would hope. Okay, other employees. Well, there's also another woman without a mask. Isn't that interesting? How she only picked me?
Well, I have nothing to do with that at all.
She only picked me, the white person, not the black person wearing a mask. Do you think it's a racist thing? I don't know.
We're not here to talk about race.
Well, you know what? It kind of seems like it's a racist thing when the black woman doesn't have a mask on, but she comes after the white woman. That's the only difference.
So that's something where you would file a complaint with Nordstrom Rack.
Okay, but I also want to file a complaint with you for her assaulting me.
Okay, and she also wants to file assault charges against you.
Okay. This happened at Nordstrom Rack.
Ma'am, you need to stay over
Ma'am,
here.
you can't leave because right now you're still detained.
No, you can't. You are being detained.
Why am I being detained?
Because we don't know who you are.
Okay, I'm being detained because they don't know who I am.
Okay,
Which
we were called
apparently
here.
is illegal.
We were called here for a situation. Okay.
A situation where I was.
Which we're investigating.
We don't
So if
know.
you are
We're
a
investigating
victim,
it.
Okay, where's the investigator?
If you
are you
are-
an investigator?
ma'am,
We are officers. We have to figure out what's going on.
if you're a victim of assault, we need to know who you are.
Carabelle. How did you know my name was Carabelle?
Because I heard you say it. You said it on the phone when you called 911. That's how I know.
You just called and got it. Don't lie.
No.
You are lying to me. I just heard you call the police officer that I talked to and get my name. Now you're
It's
lying.
not a police officer on the phone.
Now
When
you're
you
lying.
were in the fitting room.
You
I
are
heard.
lying. Stop. This is the second time I caught you in a lie.
Okay. Replay your video. I'm not lying.
Okay. Okay. First of all, I don't have to identify myself.
Yes, you do.
Actually, I don't. It's called common law. You should read up on it. I do not. Okay? So we both know that I don't. I am a woman of God.
Get the f out of here!
This is my right as much as it is yours. This is my land as much as it is yours. I did not sign up for this. I am a Christian woman of God. And you are not going to put your disgusting rules on me that are false and not true. I will not have it. Do you understand that? I will not have it. I'm sick of being bullied. I'm sick of being lied to. And it's not going to happen anymore. Do you understand? The CDC just released... Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
After this clip went viral, Cara was then charged with a Class C misdemeanor, which is punishable of a fine up to $500. On top of this, she would then have racked up an additional $500 to $1,000 in fines for not wearing a mask. Now, after the usual detective work we do here, I uncovered this clip of the same Karen embarrassing herself yet again in front of a crowd at a school board meeting. I don't really know how to explain this one any further. All I can say is that it involves butt stuff. So here you go.
Take her out back, we boys figured, then hand on the... Put it in her coin box, put it in her cornhole, grab a hold of that braid, rub that calico. You can find that on page 39 of the book called Out of Darkness, which you can find at Hudson Bend Middle School and Bee Cave Middle School. All right, not gonna lie, I had to Google cornhole because I have the game in the back of my yard, but according to Wikipedia, cornhole is a sexualist slang vulgarism for anus. The term came into the use in the 1910s in the United States as verb form to cornhole, which came into usage in the 1930s, means to have I do not want my children to learn about in middle school. I have never had. I don't want to have. I don't want my kids to have. I want you to start focusing on education and not public health.
Stone, you're on.
Speaking of butt stuff, the next Karens are personal injury lawyers. Yeah, weird link, I know. Anyways, here we have Karen and Ken, also known as Mark and Patricia McCloskey, or Thumbnail Karen. This Caucasian couple live in a nice big old house in St. Louis. The area they live in also happens to be one of the hotspots for BLM protests. On June 28, 2020, George Floyd protests were happening and demonstrators were making their way to the mayor's house to demand her resignation after she gave out names and addresses of demonstrators demanding police reform Friday. On their way to the mayor's house was the McCloskeys' house. As protesters made their way into the private neighborhood and passed through the McCloskeys' residence, this is what they saw.
Holding a high-powered rifle and wielding a pistol, in these now viral images, Mark and Patricia McCloskey looked ready for a gunfight as a protest moved through their mansion-lined St. Louis neighborhood.
Get the hell out of my neighborhood!
The incident gained national news coverage and sparked controversy. Mark McCloskey came forward and had this to say about the situation.
Because you will tell your own story rather than having it told for you by ideologues. Describe for us, if you would, why you believed you and your wife were threatened by these 300 people in your yard.
Well, Tucker, you got to understand, my house sits right on the edge of a road called Kings Highway, and our private place is Portland Place, where my wife and I were preparing to have dinner, maybe 70 feet from the gate. By the time we looked up and we saw the marchers coming down Kings Highway and getting loud, we looked over at the gate, and there's no police there. Our private security wasn't there. Nobody's there, and I look over at my wife and I see all these people outside the gate, and then the gate bursts open. People start coming in, and then a flood of people start coming in. They're angry, they're screaming, they've got spittle coming out of their mouth. They're coming towards the house.
This entire situation is a perfect example of how the media will twist just about any story and create their own narrative that will bring in the most views. At first glance, they look like absolute Karens, but after analyzing the facts and hearing the story from both sides, it makes you wonder, who's really in the wrong here? Let us know in the comments down below what you think. Now, both Mark and Patricia McCloskey were charged with unlawful use of a weapon which can carry a sentence of up to 4 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000. However, Patricia was handed a fine of $750 while Mark received a fine of $2,000. The two had a great attorney to help them in court when they came close to being convicted, but were let off with a fine. Then better news came for the McCloskeys in July of 2021 when the couple was pardoned by Governor Mike Parson. Mr. Parson's decision, announced in a news release late July, came more than a month after the couple, Patricia and Mark McCloskey, pleaded guilty to their misdemeanor charges over the confrontation. Next up, we have a crazy confrontation between a Karen and the most respected person in a courtroom. Melissa Hartwick was sentenced to a court hearing after her husband filed a domestic violence order against her back in 2011. This incident started when the judge asked Hartwick's husband to explain the situation. Melissa then interrupted, and when the judge told her to stop talking, she continued to talk and was held in contempt of court and sentenced her to 10 days in jail. That's when this happened.
You will serve 10 days for contempt of court. You go now.
Wayne County Court Security Officer Adam Dodson had only witnessed in training videos.
I've worked there for 3.5 years, and this is the first time anything that serious has happened.
Court Security Officer Adam Dodson got in between Hartwick and the judge and tackled Hartwick to the ground. Hartwick was then given 120 days in jail for contempt of court after the incident. She'll also now have to go before a judge facing charges of third-degree threatening, intimidating a participant in the legal process, and resisting arrest. Over 10 years later now, let's hope Melissa Hartwick's jail time made her realize that the 7-letter name is better than the one with 5.